Have you ever noticed how certain people only realize the value of what they had when it's already too late? Yeah, the human ego show never disappoints. While you're out there like a billboard flashing available, they barely notice. But just when you exit the scene, cut the chatter, disappear, and magically, you become the #1 topic on their minds. It's not witchcraft, it's science, or just the pathetic drama of someone who thinks they only miss what they've lost. Contempt, my friend, isn't just a passive reaction. It's practically a self-destruct button for someone else's ego. We're not talking about cheap revenge games, but rather the art of letting silence scream for you. It's simple. You stay quiet, and the other person loses it, because nothing reveals your worth faster than your absence. Today, we're going to break down how to wield this weapon effortlessly, yet with surgical precision. Oh, and before we dive in, let me remind you of a basic thing. This content only made it this far because someone had the decency to like, comment, and perform the sacred ritual of subscribing. So, stop being lazy and do the same. It's not for me, it's for the blessed algorithm, because it's the only deity that matters on YouTube. Like, subscribe, drop a thanks in the comments, and let's speed up this machine. Now that the necessary small talk is done, let's get to the good stuff. Number 1. Why does contempt wreck the ego from the roots? The human ego is basically a spoiled child, fragile, needy, and obsessed with attention. It feeds on likes, instant replies, and the illusion of being in control. While you're there, available like a 24/7 service, it feels like the king of the universe. But just make yourself disappear from the radar, cut the nonsense and ghost, and things change dramatically. What's left? An uncomfortable void that slaps her with a bitter truth. Maybe she wasn't that amazing after all. Ignoring someone is like pulling the rug out from an emotional cycle. During any interaction, there's a back and forth. You give attention, and she reciprocates or doesn't. When you stop, that little game ends, and her ego enters panic mode. Now her mind turns into a war zone. Why did he stop? Is there someone better? Have I become irrelevant? Spoiler. It's exactly that desperation that puts you in control. The brain can't handle gaps. When you go silent, she fills the void with assumptions, and always the worst ones. She's going to imagine you've moved on, you're happier, maybe with someone more interesting, more handsome, or funnier. And you know what's the most satisfying part? This mental torture is her own doing. Think of contempt as a master move in chess. You sacrifice the smaller piece, your attention, to win the entire game. While she's there, racking her brain with theories, you're demonstrating something she doesn't have: self-control. It's in that silence that she starts to feel the weight of regret. Because the reality is simple. People only value what they lose, and contempt is the perfect reminder of that. And you know why contempt is so effective? Because it hits the ego where it hurts the most: the fear of rejection. For her, being ignored isn't just a blow to her pride. It's a declaration that control was never hers. And of course, the typical reaction is pure emotional chaos. Impulsive messages, desperate attempts to grab your attention. It's her ego imploding in real time. In the end, contempt is more than a psychological slap. It reconfigures the game. You stop being the needy one asking for scraps and become the boss who decides what or who deserves your attention. Want to know how to use this weapon with class without looking like a childish idiot? Hang tight, because that's what we're going to talk about next. Number 2, how to ignore without looking like a sulky teenager. Truly ignoring someone is an art, not a PMS meltdown. Doing it maturely and effectively requires more than just turning your back and posting melancholic quotes. It's about emotional control, prioritizing your peace, and of course, sending the silent message that your life is still spectacular without looking like a petulant or vengeful idiot. First rule, no more drama on social media. No more hints, sad songs, or posts that scream, "Please notice me." That's practically a billboard saying you're still brooding over everything. If the idea is to show you've moved on, don't fuel the drama. Disappear from the emotional stage. Don't become the clown of the show. Second rule, either ignore for real or don't start at all. That Just a message to see if you're okay is proof you're still emotionally tied to her. Contempt only works if it's absolute. Total silence, zero contact, not even a last scene to feed the story. It's time to be firm. Either cut it off or admit you're still in the little game. Now, how to ignore with class? Simple. Shift the focus. You're not pretending to be indifferent. You're living your life. Join a gym, hang out with friends, learn something new. Every step you take away from that situation reinforces for both you and her that your life hasn't stopped. You're not ignoring. You're busy being awesome. About social media, post strategically, not teen rants. Want to post something? Make it real, natural, and preferably something that shows your life is good without seeming like you're trying too hard. A smiling photo doing a new activity, a personal achievement, or even a well-taken casual shot is enough. Remember, less is more, and desperation scares people away. If contact is inevitable, be firm and simple. She sent a message. Reply politely, but don't drag it out. No explanations or emotional conversations. You're not being rude. You're being efficient. Be brief, direct, and most importantly, at peace. The temptation to react? Absolute control. She tries to provoke you with hints or jealous posts. Ignore it. Taking the bait is what she expects, and every response only confirms she still has power over you. Contempt only works when it's rock solid, and nothing is more solid than not reacting. When you master this stance, the magic happens. She realizes she's lost control, and with that, regret sets in. But hold on, because the best is yet to come. In the next section, we'll explore how contempt not only shakes her ego, but creates that unbearable feeling of loss that might lead her to try to reclaim what's no longer hers. If you really want to finally get out of the emotional doormat position and learn to strategically mess with her mind, it's time to take this seriously. Read the digital book in the description of this video. There, you'll discover how to use psychological tricks to turn the game around, make her seek you out, think about you 24/7, and best of all, recognize the value you've always had. After reading this, you'll learn to use the cold, calculating side everyone should have, handle her emotions without needing childish games, and master the art of seduction once and for all. No more being the guy she steps on. It's time to be the man she respects and desires. Number 3, the result of contempt. When she understands she lost you. When contempt is executed masterfully, the impact is a spectacle on its own. It's not just about messing with her ego, it's about unveiling a void she didn't even know existed. The moment she realizes you've exited the game, the board changes, and now she's the one chasing after you. First act, denial. Initially, she'll downplay your behavior, maybe even laugh at herself, thinking you're just joking or trying to provoke her. He'll be back soon, she thinks, as time passes and the silence starts to weigh down. And this is where the show really begins. The inevitable questions flood in. Did he get tired of me? Has he found someone better? What if he never comes back? Second act, investigation. Without answers, she turns into a detective on your social media. Every photo, every absence, every like becomes a puzzle. If you played your cards, write no hints, no desperation. The silence will be deafening. In that void, she realizes something terrifying. You're fine without her. Third act, attempting contact. Unable to handle the weight of your absence, she starts to test the waters. A hey, how are you? A like on an old photo, or even nonsensical messages just to start a conversation. These attempts aren't just out of curiosity. They're disguised cries of, notice me again. Fourth act, desperation. When she realizes the control is lost, her ego goes into crisis mode. It might show up as jealousy, posts full of regret, or even blatant attempts to get closer. Each of these actions is a silent confession that she's understood. You were the prize all along. And now what to do? That depends on you. If If contempt was meant to provoke reflection, maybe it's time to open an honest dialogue and set the terms of what you really expect. But if contempt was the conclusion that it's no longer worth it, move forward with the same firmness that brought you here. The final truth: contempt isn't just a psychological weapon, it's a tool for clarity. It reveals who's there for genuine reasons and who just wanted control. And most importantly, it proves to her and to you that the greatest value always lies in who you are, not in who chases after you. With this, you not only change the game's dynamics, you redefine who's in control. Remember, silence is more than just a response. It's a reminder that you're not an accessory in anyone's life. Number 4, the next step: choosing between opening the door again or moving on. Now that contempt has done its dirty work and she realizes she lost you, it's time to face the million-dollar question: what to do with it? The power is now in your hands, and the decision is simple but not necessarily easy. Open the door again or move on. Each choice has its implications, and here we'll analyze how to do it without stumbling emotionally. Option 1, reopen the door, but with clear rules. If contempt was more of a wake-up call than a period at the end of a sentence, it's time to reassess. However, no going back to the previous toxic cycle. First and foremost, define for yourself what you really want. Why reopen the door? Is there potential for change? Or do you just want to feed her ego while keeping control for a while? If the decision is to reopen dialogue, do it with posture. Don't come crawling or begging. Clearly explain what led you to act that way, what you expect moving forward, and what you won't tolerate anymore. Contempt was a message that your patience has limits. If she wants back into your life, she needs to know the game's rules have changed. Option 2, move on like a king. If contempt was the last piece of that puzzle, and you've realized it's better to move on, do it with style. No setbacks, no giving room for old dynamics. The silence that already destabilized her will be your greatest fortress. Now is the time to focus entirely on yourself. All the lessons you learned from this situation should be applied. Reinforce your boundaries, learn to prioritize your peace, and build a life that doesn't rely on anyone's validation. And what about her? No need to block, delete, or erase everything that might seem childish. Instead, maintain your emotional distance. If she tries to contact, respond politely, but briefly and impersonally. You owe her nothing beyond basic respect, and even that only if it's convenient for you. The truth about both choices: regardless of your decision, the most important thing is to remember that contempt has already put you in control. The dynamics have changed, and now you're the one deciding who deserves a place in your life. Never go back to a cycle where your worth is underestimated or negotiated. If you choose to give another chance, do it with maturity and open eyes. If you decide to move on, do it with conviction and without looking back. In the end, contempt isn't just about her. It's about you, your ability to respect yourself and prioritize what truly matters. Whether you're reopening the door or locking it forever, remember, you're not anyone's option. You're the choice worth having. Contempt, no matter how potent, isn't a cheap revenge weapon or a manipulation trick. It's about you, about reclaiming control, reaffirming your worth, and most importantly, making it clear to yourself that no one, absolutely no one, has the right to dictate your self-esteem. In this video, you learned how contempt can destabilize someone's ego, provoke unexpected reflections, and even make her realize what she lost. But here's the kicker. The true power of contempt isn't in how it affects the other person. It's in how it strengthens you. It's a declaration of emotional independence and respect for who you are. And you know what's even more incredible? When you shift her focus and direct it towards yourself, life starts to flourish in ways you never imagined. You realize that the true prize was never her opinion, her ego, or what she missed. The greatest prize has always been and always will be your peace, your freedom, and the chance to grow without carrying the burden of others' validation. Now, I want to hear from you. What was the most unexpected situation you experienced when applying contempt? Drop it in the comments. Who knows? Your story might inspire others. And of course, if this video gave you that much needed spark, hit the like button, share it with that friend who's always being stepped on, and subscribe to the channel. Here, there's no fluff. Just the direct and powerful content you need to turn the game around. Remember, silence, when used intelligently, is the loudest roar you can make. And it always tells the truth that no one wants to hear.